Hey there, folks. I'm Mark, in affiliation with Spectrum Pulse, and yeah, we got a brand new Billboard year. And we're starting with an album bomb from Drake and 21 Savage. And it's Billboard Breakdown. I don't remember. I wish the new Billboard year for 2023 wasn't starting like this. Gotta be honest. And I can say that for a number of reasons that go beyond how it's just not the best way to start off a new season of this show. Oh great, another Drake album bomb with the vast majority of songs in the top 20, and a lot of them are completely lousy. Haven't been down this road before. Now you can argue that the majority of this is because the Hot 100's kinda weak right now. Drake faced very little competition, but quite frankly, if Billboard had tacked on another tracking week for 2022, we could have left this in that year and had a slightly more representative of 2022. It'll never fully match a proper calendar tracking year, but at least it would have been a little closer. But we do have another story with our top 10, and that's what's holding the number one, Anti-Hero by Taylor Swift, backed up by a big radio surge, just enough streaming, and a massive sales influx driven off of a bunch of remixes. And yes, I get that the remix games are part of all of this. They have been for years now. I'd actually argue Anti-Hero is a better song than nearly all of its competition, and I might even understand the root cause given Drake's connections with Scooter Braun, and Taylor Swift might just be petty here. My point though is that at this point in her career, after already getting the number one, Swift doesn't even need to play the Hot 100 games. Even if you're owning all the negative elements about yourself and your persona, this can just wind up, well, exhausting to root for you. I mean, not quite as exhausting as the 8 Drake and 21 Savage songs that all charted courtesy of streaming. So in order, Rich Flex at number 2, Major Distribution at number 3, On BS at number 4, Spin Bout You at number 5, Pussy in Millions with Travis Scott at number 6, Privileged Rappers at number 7, Circo Loco at number 8, and BackOutsideBoyz with Just Drake at number 9. Finally, clinging on to the bottom, we got Unholy by Sam Smith and Kim Petras at number 10. It really just held on courtesy of some big radio gains. It'll at least last when all these Drake songs fall back anyways. Speaking of which, our losers and dropouts, and as expected, it was a really big week here, as nearly half of the Hot 100 dropped back again. And given that this is a new Billboard year, I wanted to do a proper level set, so fine, dropouts first, of which there's actually not that many. Album bombs in succession tend to purge them out pretty quick. So all we had is Late Night Talkin' by Harry Styles, Mi Porto Bonito by Bad Bunny and Chincho Corleone, Betty Get Money by Young Gravy, and Gatubela by Karol G and Maldi. And now for our losers. You know what, let's deal with the Taylor Swift ones first. High Infidelity at 98, Paris at 90, The Great War at 87, Bigger Than the Whole Sky at 85, Would've, Could've, Should've at 76, Sweet Nothing at 71, Labyrinth at 67, Mastermind at 65, Question at 56, Vigilante Shit at 51, You're On Your Own Kid at 42, Snow on the Beach with Lana Del Rey at 40, Karma at 39, Maroon at 36, Bejeweled at 33, Midnight Rain at 30, and Lavender Haze at 23. Then might as well go through whatever's left of the Lil Baby album bomb. Forever with Friday at 84, Hey at 77, and California Breeze at 73. And now, the rest. Staying Alive by DJ Khaled featuring Drake and Lil Baby at 100. To Be Loved, Am I Ready by Lizzo at 97. Might as well throw in About Damn Time down to 48 as well. All Mine by Brent Faiyaz at 86. No Si Va by Grupo Frontera at 81. Music for a Sushi Restaurant by Harry Styles losing its gains at 80. Free Mind by Thames at 79. And Wishful Drinking by Ingrid Andress and Sam Hunt at 78. Then we got Son of a Sinner by Jelly Roll at 69. Victoria's Secret by Jax at 66. Golden Hour by Jake at 57, Hold Me Closer by Elton John and Britney Spears at 55, 5'9" by Tyler Hubbard looking to be making a more natural exit at 54, and Unstoppable by Sia at 50. That one can make an exit anytime. Then there's Tomorrow 2 by Glorilla and Cardi B at 49, She Had Me at Heads Carolina by Cole Swindell at 47, Shirt by SZA losing off the debut to 46, Titi Me Pregunto by Bad Bunny at 43, Wait For You by Future Temps and Drake at 41, Wasted On You by Morgan Wallen at 37, and Sunroof by Nicki Yor and Daisy at 35. And finally, Rounding this up, Vegas by Doja Cat at 29, I Ain't Worried by One Republic at 28, You Proof by Morgan Wallen at 25, I Like You a Happier Song by Post Malone and Doja Cat at 24, Lift Me Up by Rihanna, falling off the debut to 22, Super Freaky Girl by Nicki Minaj at 21, and As It Was by Harry Styles at 17. Now we would get to our returns and gains, except there are no returns, and the only gain we got is for Hotel Lobby Unconfused by Quavo and the Late Takeoff at 62. Now this would also be where I'd normally talk about an album bomb, except it's all in the top 20 except for one song that I'm probably going to want to talk about anyway, so yeah, we're out of luck there too. This episode is going to go long. So might as well get started with our list of new arrivals, beginning with number 83, My Mind and Me by Selena Gomez.
If somebody sees me like this, then they won't feel alone. My mind and me.
It's not a good sign when the buzz I hear about this song was that it was crap, even below the tier of Drake's new album. But I also tend to think that a lot of the critiques that are thrown at Selena Gomez are kind of inconsistent at best. And I like that collab she had with Rima, so for a one-off single tied to her documentary, this couldn't be that bad, right? Well, okay, I get why it's not great. A very spare, minimalist piano arrangement with a vocal pickup that is way too close and doesn't flatter Selena Gomez, especially as she doesn't really have the expressiveness in order to sell this well. Her delivery on the song, it's shaky, to be sure. But I don't know, I think it kind of works in context. Under tabloid overexposure, Selena Gomez knows that her life can be a bit of a train wreck, and her mental health is not great, and she feels a little bit of guilt even asking for more help or attention given her own privilege. But she's conscious of the fact that simply having her struggle more visible can be inspirational for her fans. Not always flattering, but more truthful. Now, Selena Gomez is not the first person to present an arc like this. A lot of pop acts seem to be leaning into it as of the past few years, but the song also doesn't feel oversold, and the smaller stakes and solid pop songwriting from John Bellion keeps this with just enough quality. So yeah, this is fine. I'm just okay with this. Number 53, Die For You by Joji.
That's okay, 'cause I die for you. I'd still die for you.
I'm gonna say this outright, Joji should be trying to get away from 88 Rising. I might not think Smithereens is good at all, but you can tell it was rushed out to capitalize on Glimpse of Us, and between some poor artistic development and promotion, especially on streaming, Joji should be much bigger than he is. I've seen him live, he can own that. And I can say all that even though I don't think this song is good at all. A watery post-breakup song where once again there's no sense of grandeur or bombast, and while the gentle drums do help to build to a nice, well-balanced hook with a pretty good vocal arrangement, after said hook it dissolves into a lot of bassy synth layers that feel like they should have more actually going on beyond this vaguely ethereal vibe. But it's the lyrics that wind up irking me the most here. You kind of lose all your credibility for being able to move on when you say that you're still dreaming about them and that you would die for them. The latter sentiment needs to have some actual weight behind the delivery, otherwise it just comes across as mopey and clingy and oversold in the least likable way. I mean, it's not likely going to be the worst thing we hear about women in the episode ahead. Brace yourself, you're all forewarned. But my god, I think this is mediocre. Unlike Glimpse of Us, let's not make this a hit. Number 27, 3 AM on Glenwood by 21 Savage.
Petroleum. Niggas acting like my kids and they be older than him. Can't believe that Kill Skinny, I really growed up with him.
Okay, the rest of the songs in this episode are from Her Loss. Given that I've already covered this album on my main channel, I'm going to try to keep some of these observations relatively brief, especially given that I do think the album is pretty damn bad. And thus, it's kind of ironic that what I consider the best song on this project is the lowest charting entry, the one solo 21 Savage song on this project. And again, it's actually pretty decent. 21 muses about his friends in jail or killed while he has to still keep moving in the streets and chasing money, with some very real PTSD reflected against the spare, blocky beat and the faint sample behind him. Now, the song doesn't really do much with that processed guitar on the outro, but the real problem I had came with that line, "Watch these hoes when you're rich, they play games with the semen." I mean, not only is it just a clunky line, and not just for the obvious ugliness of the bars, they don't really fit anywhere anywhere else on the song and the subject matter. They drag everything back as a result. I mean, it's still passable, at least to me, but this should be better. Number 19, I Guess It's Fuck Me by Drake.
You left so abruptly. I guess it's fuck me.
And now we got the solo venture from Drake, the closing track where he submerges himself in autotune again against this mournful horn and watery piano. Now, this is supposed to be the moment where Drake reveals a lot of the roots of his antipathy towards women that's on this album, where it's his line of work. He'd prefer to keep living a lie to keep her at a distance, even if it's guaranteed to ruin a lot of his long-term relationships, where he knows that none of this is healthy. And no, I'm not buying this. It feels like a self-serving justification that implies more complexity than we actually get. Drake chose this life. He chose his stature. Maybe he needs to do the actual internal, difficult self-care work instead of very obviously fishing for a sympathy that he has not earned. So no, I don't care for this. Number 18, More M's by Drake and 21 Savage.
Gotta fight, this ain't none of that. Had to cut her off, she got too attached. I ain't wasting time that I'm never getting back.
Hey look, it's a beat from Metro Boomin, so the eerie synths and the sharper trap progressions feel better balanced, even if it is a glorified leftover from Savage Mode 2. You'd think that the multi-millionaires would have shelled out for more of these. But overall, it feels a little bit more like 21's song, with his hook and a very menacing verse, where in succession he calls the girl who didn't fuck rappers a dinosaur, that she better not throw up on his seat, that she also better not argue with him, and that she better cook like she's Asian because he likes fried rice. Wow. Somehow Drake actually comes off looking a little bit better with a strangely flat verse from him, although that sub he threw in Kendrick's direction, that was certainly a choice. But given that the entire song is about goading jealous MCs, I'm not surprised. On most albums, this would be considered filler. Here it's one of the better tracks. Go figure. Number 16, Jumbotron Ship Poppin' by Drake.
Over 2 sip, die, he ain't need a bed. Then I did the pint of tech in a cold red.
We got 2 more solo Drake joints coming up, with this feeling like a glorified interlude with a really messy pitch-shifted sample. You can very much tell that Lil Yachty co-wrote this with maybe Young Thug in mind, and it's a mess. And the content's also nothing to write home about either. Flexing, doing drugs, wanting a girl to lick him like a mail stamp, and at the end of the verse, stuff with ad-libs, because this is very obviously a throwaway. This should have been left in the drafts or cut outright. The hook is just plainly not good enough to justify this. Next. Number 15, Middle of the Ocean by Drake.
Short rigatoni with the pesto. These verses are my manifesto. Hallways got an echo. Me and Smigs on a loose in the city. You know how the rest go.
So alright, Drake normally does this at least once an album. He just raps for nearly 6 minutes on what he now has decided is cool or uncool, with a string of flexes that at this point I just find profoundly uninteresting. Yeah, there's some okay wordplay here. I like the string of football punchlines, and the production's actually pretty opulent with the overused pitched up soul sample and the gentle drums, although some of the beats feel kind of buzzier and heavier than they should, especially in the back half. But let's be real, does that really excuse the concern trolling on Serena Williams and her husband calling him a groupie, where Drake says he's getting spicy, or that line, feel like an Amber Alert the way I can take her to the mall and she find Tiffany? Given your history, Drake, that might be a touch flagrant to compare you taking a woman to the mall to a police signal for child trafficking. Now granted, that line overshadows how he calls himself a cup holder the way these dimes stick to him. Come on, that's some early Big Sean levels of cringy wordplay. But in the end, I can't appreciate Drake shoving his wealth in my face, because it's very clear it comes with neither the taste nor the class to back it up. I mean, some of us aspire to better, and the Birdman outro was fucking pointless. Move on. Number 14, Treacherous Twins by Drake and 21 Savage.
You my treacherous little twin, you my twin. You my treacherous little twin.
This was being called out as one of the better tracks on the project, with the spare chalky beat and the very muted sample, despite the fact that it's about Drake and 21 doing the bare minimum to express their camaraderie. And some of these lines are just not very good. I don't show ID at the clubs, they know I'm 21. That bar was getting so much attention on social media, and it feels like the most obvious flex possible from him. It's not that special. There's just very little here worth caring about. Next, number 12, Broke Boys by Drake and 21 Savage.
There's nobody touching the flow. They say you alone at the top, but it's gotta be lonely below.
Oh god, I hate how this song is mastered. The distorted bass sounds like shit clipping against the mix and against the sandy, warping trap percussion and the ugly drone of the melody. This instrumental just kills any fondness I could have for the song right out of the gate. Kind of a shame because Drake's hook is not bad here, and this is one of the few cuts where he has any real interplay with 21 on that second verse, with the disses at Adidas alongside him comparing himself to Justin Bieber unironically. Now granted, it's alongside 21 comparing his guns to Wiimotes, and as the line, "She call me mucus, I stay in her throat," disgusting, and then the beat completely switches up to a different, surprisingly better mixed piano trap instrumental for Drake to badly croon about how he doesn't talk to the broke boys and everyone who doesn't spend their money wisely or the way he does. Given how much you spend on gambling these days, Drake, there are some glass houses you might want to examine. So no, this doesn't work either. In fact, it kind of really sucks. Number 11, Hours of Silence by Drake and 21 Savage.
In due time, I think that I could fuck the idea him out of your mind.
So the discourse around this song in particular is actually a bit fascinating. I personally would argue it's one of the better songs here, with the very muted melodic swell off the sandy percussion, some of the best mixing and mastering on the entire project, as Drake croons through a cheating encounter with some girl that he's paying to support, with a surprisingly well-placed "I took a pill in Ibiza" line to sell the hazy melancholy, especially given the massive secrets that they're trying to keep between each other and that he's openly enabling. In other words, it kind of sounds like a vintage Drake song. Hell, its samples come through from Nothing Was the Same, so it's very obvious he's recycling what's worked in the past. And yeah, it's got a lot of the clean, manipulative paranoia that characterizes his refrain, "You were lost without me." I mean, he's done this before, and pushing 40, it's kind of hard to excuse from the guy. But I think the larger issue is how repetitive and slogging the song feels. It didn't need a fourth verse or run to the 6-minute mark. Still, it's the last even semi-decent song on this album. I guess I'll take what I can get. Number 9, Back Outside Boys by Drake.
Cutting the traction, bet in the corner, bet I make shit glide. Try to bring the John, told me he ain't know how we cha-cha slide. I'll never lose sleep over no bitch, way too much pride.
Alright, if Drake is gonna accept these songs that are very obviously co-written by Lil Yachty, he should do a much better job at hiding that fact. The weird, buzzy blocks of synth, Yachty's ad-libs, the bricked-out mix, the shambling fragments of melody, it's just distractingly obvious to me, especially when the content's not any good. For one, on the hook, he tries to brush past how he stole Cha-Cha from Drum on Hotline Bling, who actually addressed it in the release day of Her Loss, and remarking how Drake's people assaulted him. And then on the verses, he's got the fetishization of bi women, the line, "I'm an owl, I'll never tell you who," saying how he's never voted, but if he would, it'd be for porn star Tiana Trump. We'll come back to this. And the most infamous line, "She's a 10 trying to rap, it's good on mute." It's an Ice Spice reference. Her viral song is better than the majority of this album, as are pretty much every woman who raps whose album I have covered this year. But while we're on the topic of casual misogyny and a song being absolutely shit, number 8, Circo Loco by Drake and 21 Savage.
I just put them on a jet, now they all Italian. Way I'm dressed until I've been to $1,000. This bitch lie about getting shots, but she's still a stallion. She don't even get the joke, but she's still smiling.
Let's get the easy piece out of the way. The line, "This bitch lie about getting shots, she a stallion," it's the most flagrant and inexplicable moment on this project. You're throwing your support behind Tory Lanez, the wannabe loser who spent most of his career ripping off you, Drake, instead of Megan Thee Stallion. who's backed by Jay-Z? And more to the point, he follows it up the diss a couple lines later with, "Shorty say she graduated, she ain't learned enough. Play your album, track 1, okay, I heard enough." I mean, it's not just that these are whack bars, this is bad business, and it reveals a lot of insecurity that you feel that you have to do this. It also doesn't help matters that the song is just garbage. I stopped caring about everyone's brand name flexes and you name dropping Jay Prince or any of the flexes or violence that 21 Savage ads or the absolutely atrocious flip of One More Time by Daft Punk that's mixed into down-tuned slush. No, this is bitch-ass loser shit made by a wildly overrated rapper, and it's up there with I'm Upset and Way Too Sexy as among the worst songs in his catalog. Fucking gross. Number 7, Privileged Rappers by Drake and 21 Savage.
Telling her open a safe. I hate a privileged rapper who don't even know what it takes. The diamonds they hit like a rainbow, that's cause a necklace of Frank. Purr.
See, Drake, when you reference that you don't vote, I went to this song where you're dissing the privileged rapper who doesn't know what it takes, or doesn't have a proper hit followed up after getting signed, or acting like they're just taking their time. As if Drake isn't someone who has had the luxury of coming up under Lil Wayne's crew from a TV show, backed by Jay Prince as an industry darling. You have the gall to call anyone privileged when you couldn't even bother to vote in Canadian politics at any level. It is deeply ironic and thoroughly contemptible. Kind of a shame because his flows here are actually kind of okay, and I think 21's verse is decent playing off the minimalist synth loop. And then 21 goes on about how this girl must be stupid because she didn't get his string of emojis, or how she dared to come over on her time of the month, but then he gave her his dick for brunch and then wipes his dick with her bra. So yeah, this blows too. Next, number 6, Pussy in Millions by Drake and 21 Savage featuring Travis Scott.
Mine on missions, mine on pussy in millions, mine on pussy in millions. I'm trying to call a sex symbol to eat my kids up.
Of course, Drake would be the one to give Travis Scott more career longevity with this, albeit riding off a pretty decent sample flip off the Sandy percussion and a hook. I don't mind. Yeah, more money, more problems, but then Drake says, bring it on. And then immediately reverses on it to dump the girl where they're getting too close as he wants a sex symbol to suck him off. And then Travis shows up and the mix actually picks up some bombast. The bass is badly mixed and the content is a lot of empty flexing, but it's the first time the track builds up any real momentum and highlights the one thing Travis Scott has over Drake, in that he actually has a sex symbol to give him blowjobs. I mean, at this point, the empty debauchery just kind of washes over you. It becomes so friggin' boring. That's a problem. Number 5, Spin Bout You by Drake and 21 Savage.
Feel these days, some getting dry for your baby girl. Smoke a nigga top for your baby girl.
I mean, it's hard for me to dislike the BGOTI sample, but damn, they're gonna try by dropping some of the most canned-sounding snares and hi-hats as the bass smothers the mix. But okay, fine. 21's verse is decent, playing it into all the empty hedonism. And even as Drake's hook killed the momentum, I was prepping to try to defend this. But then Drake opens up his verse, taking a shot at the Supreme Court for overturning Roe v. Wade, who he calls a bunch of guys who never got laid in high school who now want to dictate how women can live their lives. That'd be an interesting angle. Until Drake makes it abundantly clear that it's him who wants to control this woman so she can keep fucking him and then has all the power to take her around the world and then isolate her from her friends who he may have also fucked and who might be skeptical of Drake for, I don't know, some very obvious reasons. This is not some feminist statement. This is Drake playing power games pure and simple, and while it's not one of the worst on this album, I still don't have much time for it. Number 4, On BS by Drake and 21 Savage.
On that bullshit, okay. On that bullshit, okay. On that bullshit, okay. On that bullshit, okay. On that bullshit. We on all the bullshit.
Funnily enough, this is not one of the tracks that obviously lives up to its title, mostly because Drake and 21 have a bit more back and forth on their verses, even if the snares and hi-hats sound distractingly tinny against the oily keys and the bass rumble. Now, of course, that back and forth is a response to Pusha T saying that he's been banned from touring in Canada thanks to Drake's little escapade and people attacking him in Toronto in 2018 at the Danforth Hall. Drake calls Pusha T a coward. I'm inclined to believe push because there's no tour stops anywhere in Canada, not Toronto. Following Drake saying that he's in and out of her best friends and how he calls himself a feminist by blowing money on all the hoes. Classy. I mean, it's worth highlighting that some think that there is actually a line here where Drake references XXXTentacion's death and the accusations that X made at Drake for stealing his flows. I personally think that's a stretch to get anything all that conspiratorial. I've seen that floating around, but it's also a punchline on that second verse that isn't as hard as Drake thinks that it is. Just like this song. Next, number 3, Major Distribution by Drake and 21 Savage.
Go stupid, go stupid. Okay, go stupid. Stupid, go stupid, go stupid, go stupid, go stupid, go stupid. Okay.
I swear, Drake, would it kill you to stop fucking the friends of girls that you're around? You think you'd learn after the umpteenth time it doesn't work out for you. Granted, this is a song with a hook of him muttering "go stupid" around the cheapest sounding piano and generic trap beat possible, with some lazy strip club references, and gently mocking this girl for not being able to spell persuasive. And the fun doesn't stop there, as 21 Savage then says he gets IG models to run errands for him, and ends his verse with some really forced One Direction references that I assume are probably here for gaming search engines and any sort of algorithm, because they're not good enough to excuse otherwise. Anyway, this sounds like a badly performed demo that's got no business being on this album. Skip it. And finally, number 2, Rich Flex by Drake and 21 Savage.
For me, then 21, can you do something for me? Drop some bars to my pussy ex for me.
And this is the last song, the one actually getting a radio push. And what do you know, it sucks too. I know some people are trying to make the whole 21, can you do something for me as a faintly ironic TikTok meme, but no, there's no menace in setting it up after Young Nudi's intro and that distorted sample. Instead, you get this faux gothic watery warble as the Lennon percussion slides in. It doesn't sell me on the atmosphere at all. Of course, what 21 Savage actually delivers is an interpolation of Megan Thee Stallion's Savage, along with the second reference on this album to not having sex with a girl on her period, instead wanting just blowjobs, and then a clunky beat switch into Drake with some truly abysmal off-key rapping to open up his verse. And said verse is mostly fine. A few of the acronyms are kind of clever, the gang and number references are decent, but the line that killed the verse for me was, "I'm steady pushin' P, you pushin' PTSD." So not only are you sticking to a bad meme from Gunna that was dead 6 months ago, and flipping on the best song from your partner on this album, you're once again exposing how much of a hypocritical, privileged rapper you actually are in the scene today. I have spoken at length in this series the past couple of years about the violence and psychological trauma that a lot of those kids have to live in their rhymes. Even if I don't even like the music, I can empathize for the escape they're seeking, the art they're putting out. This is just scornfully deriding that, while all over this album perpetuating the same brand of violence. So yeah, Drake and 21 are obviously getting the worst this week, absolutely. I'm thinking Circo Loco for the worst spot, dishonorable mention, fuck it, tie between Rich Flex and BackOutsideBoyz with just coming from Drake. Best of the week, I'm giving it to 21 Savage for 3 AM in Glenwood. I mean, it's got some problems. It's at least decent in my view. Honorable mention is going to My Mind and Me by Selena Gomez, which, again, nowhere near as bad as a lot of people have made it out to be. And that, especially coming off of this week. I mean, it can only get better going forward, right? Well, we'll see what happens. Till then, I'm Mark. You're watching Billboard Breakdown, affiliated with Spectrum Pulse. And I'll see you next time.